I'd like to introduce LORI Ginsberg of Northwell Health and the Katz Institute for Women's Health. We're so grateful she's here today doing this program for us, Strategies to Prevent a Fall. Without any further ado, LORI, it's all yours.
Okay, can everyone hear me? Just shake your head. Good. Thank you all for having me. As Janine said, my name is LORI Ginsberg. I'm the Director for Community Health for the Katz Institute for Women's Health. And I have been teaching fall prevention for more than a decade. And it is a passion of mine. So it's a lot of information. So you can ask your questions at the end. I'll be delighted to answer and stay on however long you need me to stay on and answer whatever questions that you have. So this is not a talk about balance. This is not a talk about balance, but if you have fallen, one or several times, please discuss that with your healthcare provider, because it really could just mean that you need a change in medication, or you need a little balance training, or something very, very simple that's easily correctable. So don't suffer by falling because you're afraid that something terrible is going to happen. Just talk to your healthcare professional and see if you can get to the bottom of it if there's an issue with balance. However, if you do fall, please go to the emergency room. If you feel okay and you have not hit your head, then you probably can get up and everything will be fine. But if you hit your head, even if you don't hit your head hard, please make sure that you get to the emergency room, because you could have an undetected bleed. And especially since many of us, our age, are on blood thinners for AFib, it's especially important. If anybody remembers Natasha Richardson, Liam Nielsen's wife, the daughter of Vanessa Redgrave, she was on a ski trip with her family, and she went skiing and she fell and she hit her head, and she got up and she felt perfectly fine and she had no health issues. And the next day she died. And that was because she had an undetected bleed. Nobody will send you away from the emergency room and say, oh, you shouldn't have come. They will be glad that you came to check it out and find out that nothing is wrong. So better safe than sorry when you're talking about a fall, especially if you hit your head. So this is a much more practical talk about the things that you can do every day to help yourself prevent falls. And that's what we're going to work on, the things that you have the ability to change. So we want you to think about these things. And as we're getting older, we have a tendency to fall more. And as Betty Davis said, old age ain't no place for sissies. And boy, was she right. So first, I'm going to give you some of the statistics, and then I'm going to give you the good news. So every year, about 1 in 4, it's really closer to 1 in 3 adults over the age of 65 fall. And these falls result very often in a fracture or a broken bone or even a traumatic brain injury. So that makes falls the #1 cause of injury, hospital admissions for injury, and hospital admission and injury death. So it's the #1 reason that adults go to the emergency room is for falls, and that's the #1 reason for injury death. So leaving aside heart disease and cancer and things like that, medical issues, for injury, it's the #1 reason. And the reason that we all have to listen and we all have to learn and we all have to understand what we can do is because the most important thing that we all want is to maintain our independence. And a fall can frequently mark the end of your independence. So hopefully we're going to show you today how you can help yourself. So did you know that more than half of all falls occur inside the home? So where inside the home do you think that they take place? Most people think it's the bathroom or the bedroom or the kitchen, and it's really not any one particular room. what happens is most people fall in the walkways from the kitchen to the bathroom, from the bedroom to the kitchen, from the living room to the bathroom, because we put things down and we don't remember that we put them there, and we have clutter, we have books and packages and shoes and laundry and whatever on the steps, and these things, we don't realize it. We think we know our home so well, and we don't realize it, and then there they are in our way and we trip over them. And most falls occur between 11 and 4. And why? Because that's the time really when we're most active. So what is our risk of falling? What are the risks that we face as we get older? So the first one is age. And as we get older, our risk becomes greater. Declining strength and endurance is every decade after the age of 30, we lose 10% of our muscle function, and up to 30% 10% of our strength and endurance, and 30% of our muscle function. So starting at age 30, we're already starting to go down in how much strength and endurance we have. And after the age of 60, that goes even faster. It's more than 30% and more than 10%. So another thing that's very important is our balance and our gait, and we're going to get into that. Blood pressure, people who have low blood pressure, who are on blood pressure medications that make their blood pressure low, or people who have something called postural hypotension, which is when you go from one position to another quickly and your brain needs a little time to catch up and you can get dizzy. But we're going to talk about all these things. Foot problems like bunions or hammer toes can cause us to walk incorrectly. Unsafe footwear like heels or backless shoes. Our eyesight, our hearing does contribute to our risk of falls, and reflexes might not be as sharp. Medical conditions like diabetes, heart disease, thyroid, neurological problems like Parkinson's can all contribute to our risk of falls. Medications is a big one that can contribute to our risk of falls, especially if you're on more than one medication. They can really work together to make you fall. Osteoporosis is when our bones become weaker, and safety hazards in our home or in the community. But most falls are caused by a combination of risk factors. And the more risk factors we have, like building blocks, the more likely we are to fall. You know, falls also takes a psychological toll, and just because we are afraid of falling, that can also put us at greater risk of falling. And what I mean by that is, if we have a fear of falling, what happens when you have a fear of falling? What don't you do? You don't go out so much. You don't go out to your friends. You don't go out to the store because you're afraid you're going to fall. You stay home. You're more sedentary. Being more sedentary leads to greater muscle weakness and less endurance, and that makes you at greater risk of falling. So even the fear of falling can set you up to have greater fall risk. So that was all the bad news, I'm sorry to tell you. But the good news is that your strength and your balance can be improved at any age. It does not matter if you're 30, 60, 85, or 95. You can improve your balance and your strength. It's not an inescapable part of aging. Just because we're getting older does not mean that we have to fall. And today we're going to learn how. So we're going to talk about fall risk and fall hazards from many different perspectives. And the first one that we're going to talk about is awareness, gait, and movement. So how we walk is so important. And as we get older, we very often don't walk correctly. So walking is a ballet, if you will, of scanning your surroundings, and the proper way to walk is heel-toe walking. The first thing that you need to do is you need to walk like you drive. When you drive, you don't just pay attention to the car in front of you. You pay attention to the few cars ahead, and the oncoming cars. And you look to the right and you look to the left and you see the big picture. So it's very important that when you walk, you do the same exact thing, because this way you are aware of the things that can trip you up. So many people might be fearful that something is in their way, so they walk looking down like this. So that causes us to become round-shouldered, causes us to have neck problems, and the weight of our head being forward like that, it's about 10 pounds our head, 8 to 10 pounds. It propels us forward. So even just leaning your head forward can cause you to fall because it pulls you forward. So the proper way to walk is what you do is you scan 10 to 15 feet ahead of you. You scan, you look ahead, you look right in front of you, and then up to 15 feet ahead, and then you walk looking straight ahead. But when you scan, what you're scanning for are things that could trip you up. An uneven sidewalk, somebody coming in on their bicycle, something in your way like a dog or a sign or even a fire hydrant sometimes in the middle of the sidewalk. So these are the things that we're looking for. And once you come close to them, I do want you to look down so you can either walk around them or avoid them somehow. But otherwise, if there's nothing in your way, I want you to walk looking straight ahead. And what you do is you walk and scan and walk and scan and walk and scan. And that's how it goes. So heads up, mind your posture, drop your shoulders down your back. You'll feel better. And that's the way your body is supposed to walk, with your shoulders down and you're looking straight ahead. It also helps your head because you're not looking down, so you're not off balance and going to pick your head up quickly. So heads up when you walk. Whoop, wrong way. Okay, so I said that walking is a ballet of scanning and walking. So how do we walk? Very often as we get older, we have a tendency to shuffle our feet. And we shuffle our feet because we are uncomfortable picking them up off the ground. And we're afraid that we're going to fall. But the proper way to walk is heel toe. So you start on your heel and you roll through your toe and you walk heel toe. It does not have to look stilted. You just lead with your heel. That's all you have to remember, is lead with your heel, pick up the front of your foot. How many times have people said, oh, you know, I was walking on that tile and my foot got caught and I don't know what happened and I just tripped. Well, what happened was you weren't walking heel toe. So most of the time, 90% of the time, except in snow and ice, walk heel toe. Make that your mantra, practice. So you walk heel toe and you swing your arms gently, opposite arm to opposite leg. So if you lead with your right foot, your left arm goes out. And then when you put your left foot forward, your right arm goes out. So it just gives you a little momentum and it gives you better balance to walk like that. So walking safely is a combination of scanning for things in your way, looking at the big picture, and walking heel toe. And when you get to that 15 feet, scan ahead again and walk and scan. And that's the way you should be walking, even in your house, not only outside. So make heel toe walking your mantra and say, from now on, as soon as I start walking, heel toe, heel toe, heel toe. Also with gait and movement, avoid sudden changes in posture. And what I mean by that is going from lying to sitting, sitting to standing, and sitting to standing, and standing from bending over. So when you get up in the morning, before you jump to get out of bed, sit and count to 3. That's all. Just count to 3 and then stand up. And when you stand up, count to 3 again. Give your brain a chance to catch up. When you're bending over and you pick your head up, don't rush to walk. Just stand and count to 3 and give your brain a chance to readjust and catch up. When you're turning around, I don't want you to turn around quickly. We need you to turn around slowly. And rather than I'm going to go back to the driving metaphor, rather than doing a U-turn and turning around quickly, we'd rather you do a 3-point turn, meaning that you step forward, then you turn, and then you step forward again. And do it not quickly, because this way your brain will have time to move with you. Takes a few minutes for our brains to catch up. So instead of a U-turn when you're turning, do a 3-point turn. When you're going up and down stairs, if you have a stronger side or a weaker side, always step up with the good side, step up with the stronger side, and step down with the weaker side. So how we remember this is you go up with the good, you go down with the bad, and a good way to remember that is the good go to heaven and the bad go elsewhere. So up with the good, down with the bad, and always remember to hold on. Always remember to hold on. Another thing with gait and balance, movement and gait, is no rushing. Don't rush to get the phone if your phone is on the other side of the room. Don't rush to cross the street. Let the answering machine get the phone, because it's not worth you risking a fall to get that phone call. You can always have caller ID and call them back, or listen to a message, or if it's important enough, they'll call you back. When you're at a light and you don't know when the light changed, wait for the next light, because what will happen is you can find yourself in the middle of the street and all of a sudden the traffic is going and then you're running. And if you are running, that puts you at greater risk of falling. So no rushing, slow down. So that was it about movement and gait. Let's talk about safety begins at home. So all of those old cliches that you hear about safety in the home, they're all true. So we're going to go through them. The first thing is lighting. When you have stairs, keep your stairs lit at the top and the bottom. And the reason that I say that is because as we get older, we have something called impaired contrast sensitivity. And what that means is two things that are a similar color or a similar pattern might look exactly the same to us, even though they're different. So if you have, say, a wood table and a green rug, and the lighting is not good, you won't see the table because it looks the same to you as the rug, and you could trip over it. So likewise, every step when you walk, whether it's carpeted or wood or whatever, every step is exactly the same. So you need enough light to be able to see where one step ends and the next one begins. And very often we get to the bottom of the steps or the top of the steps and we don't realize that there's one more step and you step down and then you slip. So lighting top and bottom. Make sure you upgrade your lighting in your house so that you can see well and you can read, but not so much that it causes glare, because we are sensitive to glare as we get older. Make sure you have enough lighting at entrances, especially in the evening or at night. When you come back home, make sure you have either sensor lights or timers, and lights connected to motion sensors or solar lights that go on automatically when it gets dark are great and inexpensive additions to your home. Can't say enough about night lights. Night lights are critically important. I said that the place where people fall the most in the house is the walkways. The second one is the bathroom, by the way. Second is the bathroom. But if you get up to go to the bathroom at night, or you get up to get a drink of water, or whatever it is you do, you can't see if there are no night lights. So what happens is if your bathrobe fell on the floor, or if the dog is laying in your way, or if you kick the covers off the bed or the bedspread off the bed, you can't see that without a nightlight. So very important that you have a nightlight everywhere you walk at night, not only in the bedroom, not only in the bathroom, in the hallways, in the kitchen, in the living room, anywhere you may walk at night. So if you look at this picture, you see that the lights are coming out of the switch plate. And these go on automatically when it gets dark. So you can get them in Home Depot, you can get them at Ace Hardware, they're very inexpensive. You just switch out the switch plate. And the reason, this is just an aside, having nothing to do with fall prevention, but just a little fun fact. You see how it's low down to the floor? When the light that you have at night, like night lights, are down lower, yes, you can see the floor, but what it also does is it doesn't interfere with your melatonin as much as turning on an overhead light. So you'll get to sleep, you'll get back to sleep faster if you have a low ambient light than if you turn on a light brightly overhead. So that's just a fun fact. Just a fun fact. Okay, so what do you see here? Nothing, right? It's black. This is your bathroom without a nightlight. And this is what your bathroom looks like with a nightlight. So just remember that when you wake up in the middle of the night, not only can't you see, but you're a little groggy. So you may not be so steady on your feet and you'll miss things in your way. So always have night lights everywhere you walk at night. People take them with them when they travel. They travel with flashlights, they travel with night lights. You can use your phone if you want. They have a flashlight on your phone. So night lights everywhere you walk. Remember I said that most falls occur in the walkways. So clear the clutter. Keep your walkways and your stairs free of newspapers and laundry and packages and books and plants. I know sometimes plants may look pretty, but you need to have clear walking space. And make sure that in your room, wherever you go, that you have enough space to walk in between furniture. And of course, keep your cords out of the way. So if you look at this picture, this is a great example of terrible clutter. So let's say I came home from lunch, I went shopping, I came home, and I fell asleep in this chair. And now I wake up, it's 4 o'clock, I have to watch Judge Judy. But before I watch Judge Judy, I gotta go get a drink of water from the refrigerator. So I stand up, I'm a little groggy. Where am I walking? If I walk straight, I'm gonna trip over the ottoman. If I walk to the right, I'm gonna trip over the piano bench. And if I walk to my left, I'm gonna trip over that box of papers. So make sure that you clear the clutter and keep your walkways completely clear. That old adage about removing scatter rugs, a big cliche, but it's a very true cliche. Do get rid of all of your scatter rugs because your foot can get caught under the rug, your foot can push the rug, and you can then go flying over. Secure very large area rugs to the floor with double-sided tape, or they have weights and they have things that make them stick to the floor. Make sure that they don't come up when you step near them, but of course you're going to step over it because you're going to walk heel toe. So you're never going to catch your foot again on a rug because you're going to lead with your heel and you're going to step right over the edge. Okay, check to see that your carpets are in good condition, that they're not worn because the strings from the wearing can catch onto the bottom of your foot and send you right over. So I said get rid of your scatter rugs, but there are 2 rugs that you should have. And one rug is in the bathroom when you step out of the tub or the shower. Very important, not a flimsy rug that you can throw in the washing machine. It should be rubber backed and it should be secured to the floor very carefully so that when you step out of the tub, it doesn't go sliding with you. Another place I like to have that rug, that kind of rug, is in front of the kitchen sink because you're loading the dishwasher, you're washing the dishes, you're drying the dishes. It's a very important place to have it. Also pay attention to thresholds. As we get older and we have a tendency to shuffle, we also have a tendency not to see the threshold. You see in this picture that the threshold is surrounded by a red box, but you see that the color of that threshold and the carpet are very similar. And without proper lighting, you might not see it and you might forget that it's there. So you can get threshold reducers, which make it sort of like a ramp, or you can just pick up the threshold and have the carpet and the tile, or the carpet and the carpet meet. The other thing you can do is you can put bright tape on the threshold so that you can see it, like yellow tape, so it's very bright and you don't miss it. No rolling chairs ever, not by the desk, not in the kitchen, no rolling chairs, because when you sit down on them, they have a tendency to slide out from under you and down you go. Never tip any chair, front or back. Don't lean back in your chair and don't tip it forward, because the chair can go right out from under you. And also when you have in your bed, I know that the mattresses today are like 23 inches deep. They're so deep and they're so high. Make sure that your mattress is not more than 20 to 23 inches off the floor, because otherwise you'll need a step stool. And in the middle of the night, that's not a safe thing to have. So make sure that your mattress is low enough so that you can sit on it without needing a step stool. Now, what about the bathroom? Put a chair in your shower or your tub. So this way, if you get a little dizzy, you can sit down. Or if you feel a little off balance, you can sit down. If you're redoing your shower or tub, make sure they put in like a shelf that you can sit on. Non-slip strips in the tub or shower. Make sure they are in good condition if you get the strips, because they fray after a while, so you need to remove them and put new ones. If you use a mat, a removable mat in your tub or shower, make sure you pick it up after every single use and let it dry. And the reason for that is because if you don't pick it up and it stays wet, mildew collects on the back of it. And if it has mildew, it can slide much more easily. So the suction will not work anymore with mildew. Most important thing I can tell you is to have professionals install grab bars in your bathroom, in the tub, in the shower, and next to the toilet. And the reason that I say that is because the other things that you might have a tendency to grab onto, like the faucets or the towel bar or the shower curtain or the shower curtain rod, these things are not meant to hold your weight. And when you have grab bars professionally installed, they drill it into the beam behind the tile so that it's much more secure and will not come out of the wall if you hold on to it. So I was giving this talk once in a library in Manhasset, and a lady told me that she tried to get up in her bathroom, and she didn't have grab bars, and she was trying to get up out of the tub, and she felt that she needed some help, so she held on to the faucets to help her get up. And as she was getting up, the faucets came right out of the wall, and she fell down and ended up in the hospital. So don't hold on to anything except a grab bar that is professionally installed. And never use those suction grab bars that you see as seen on TV, because like the mat in your tub, they can just come away from the wall without any warning whatsoever. And please don't use bath oils or salts, because they make the bathtub very slippery. Stairways, put railings preferably on both sides on your stairs. If not, at least on one side. If you have slippery steps, make sure you put something non-slip at the edge, and make sure the end is visible, that you can see it and light the top and the bottom. Avoid wet floors. Walk only where the floor is dry, and clean up spills right away. So why is that important? So let's say I kick the bucket of water and the water goes on the floor when I was washing the kitchen floor. And I say, oh, you know what? I really have to go to the bathroom. Let me go to the bathroom. I'll come back and clean it up. But on the way back from the bathroom, the telephone rings, the doorbell rings, or I'm thinking about what I have to make for dinner, and I get distracted and I forget that I spilled. And I walk into the kitchen and slip right into it. So clean up the spills right away. I have a friend who cleaned up a spill, but she didn't clean it up well enough, and she went to step over it, and her heel got caught on the bottom of it. She fell onto her right knee and cracked her patella, her kneecap, clear in half. That was a 1-year recovery, and she still has pins in her kneecap. So just beware of spills, and if you walk in the bathroom, make sure that the floor is dry, and beware of highly polished floors. Squeaky clean without the sheen, we like to say, because the higher the sheen, the more slippery the floor is. If you have a multi-level house and your laundry is on a different level than you sleep or you eat or whatever, please don't use a laundry basket. And the reason that I say that is because a laundry basket is very dangerous. When you use a laundry basket, 3 things happen. Number 1, you're holding it in front of you so you can't see where you're going. Number 2, you're holding the laundry basket so you can't hold on to the railing. And number 3, remember what I said about your head weighing you forward? The laundry basket does the same thing. So if you're going up and down the stairs, the laundry basket's going to pull you forward. So the best thing to do is put your clothes in a garbage bag or a duffel bag or a pillowcase and throw it down the steps ahead of you so that you're not carrying it and you can hold on. And when you're done with the laundry and you have to carry it back up the stairs, don't carry it in a laundry basket, carry it in small piles that allow you to use one hand to hold the pile and one hand to hold on to the railing. And what about our clothing? What about what we wear? So avoid wearing long clothing like bathrobes or coats or raincoats that come down close to our ankles. Because when you're going up and down steps, you can step on that article of clothing, it can pull you down and over you go. So clothes, bathrobes, coats, and dresses, ladies, no longer than 2 inches below your knee. Otherwise, it's really, really not safe. A gown, if you have to wear an evening gown, make sure that it's not down to the floor where you step on it. If you wear a bathrobe and it has a belt or a raincoat and it has a belt, make sure that if the belt is not tied, that the belt is tucked into the pockets so that it doesn't slide out and go on the floor and you step on it and trip. Avoid loose clothing like wide leg pants, like palazzo pants. I know they're back in style and they're lovely, but they're very not safe because when you're going up and down stairs or even when you're walking, you can step on the fabric of the other leg and that can trip you up also. So wear things that are only ankle length and that are close to your ankle. So straight leg pants or tapered leg pants. When you're putting on your lower body clothes, instead of standing on one leg and trying to wobble and balance, sit down. When you're putting on your pants, your socks, your underwear, your pantyhose, your underwear, whatever, sit down and put it on and then stand up. Don't forget when you stand up to count to 3 before you start walking, but sit down when you put on your lower body clothes and when you take them off. Always have a way to call for help. So I could go into all the features of the personal emergency response systems, we call them, like Life Alert. That's a 45-minute talk. So all I can tell you for now is that there are all different kinds with all different features, and you can look up in Consumer Reports, always has a very good article about this. and they will call an agency, or there are some that you have to press the button. There are some that sense when you fall. So they're all different kinds. But it should give you peace of mind that you always have a way to call for help by wearing it. It doesn't have to be one of the things around your neck. They now have them that look like a Fitbit or a fitness trainer, so fitness tracker. So you can get one of those and nobody will even know that you're wearing it. They'll think that you're counting your steps. Okay, and it will also give your children, if you have children, greater peace of mind, much greater peace of mind to know that they can be called or you have a way to call for help. If you do not have a life alert or a medical alert system, carry your cell phone with you on your person at all times. And even if you're going out just to get the mail or empty the garbage or start the car or to talk to your neighbor, always keep your cell phone in your pocket, or even if you're going to the bathroom, because if you go outside and you trip over something, you need to have a way to call for help, even if it's just to the garbage pail, even if it's just to the car or out to the sidewalk. Because God forbid you do fall, you need to have a way to call for help. So carry your cell phone on your person at all times. So that was all about home safety. And I know that talk, we could, do that talk by itself, but there's a lot more to cover. So what about feet and footwear? So you need to take care of your feet because there are a lot of problems that can cause us to walk incorrectly. And some of those problems are a neuropathy if you have diabetes, or bunions, corns, calluses that are painful, hammer toes that make your toes go like this. Even ingrown toenails can cause you to walk incorrectly. Arthritis can give you pain in your feet and you can't walk properly. So you do need to go to a podiatrist, because a podiatrist can really help you remedy that before it becomes a real problem for you walking. And what about what we wear on our feet? So very important that we wear shoes that fit correctly and that are safe. So safe footwear has an arch. So those very, very flat ballet slippers with no arch that are completely flat are really not good for your feet. They really need to have like a little bit of an arch in them. You need to have thick heels so that you can balance properly, enough room in the toes, make sure it fits your foot on the back, and make sure it has a back. And footwear to avoid are high and skinny heels, shoes that are too stubby or crepey soles, shoes that are too tight, heavy, or loose, soles that are not flexible. So cork shoes or wooden bottom shoes or shoes that do not bend when you walk are not good because they don't allow you to walk that heel toe and they don't bend with you. You should never walk in stockings or socks only unless they have those strips on the bottom that make you not fall like they give you in the hospital. But the most important thing that I can tell you about your foot, what you wear on your feet, is never, ever wear shoes without backs. Never. And the reason that I say that, and that includes your slippers, that includes slippers. And the reason that I say that is because a couple of things happen when you wear shoes without backs. Number one, you very often have to scrunch your toes to keep that shoe on your foot, like a flip-flop. Like thongs, we used to call them, but now they call them flip-flops. You have to scrunch your toes to keep it on your foot, and then you can't walk properly. And the shoe can come off without warning. And especially in the middle of the night, if you're a little groggy, shoe without back coming right off your foot. So make sure your slippers have backs. So many people, UGG makes them, a lot of companies make shoes with backs. So just make sure that even your slippers, even your sandals, and even your flip-flops, they make them now, and water shoes, that they have straps around the back that will keep them secure on your feet. But what about our vision? I mean, that's probably, pretty easy to know that if we can't see well, we have more of a tendency to fall. So how do we prevent our vision from increasing our risk of falling. So everyone after the age of 50 should have a dilated eye exam every year. And why is that? Because like a mammogram, early detection is your best protection. And if the doctor can see a lot of your eye, which he can do only by having your eye dilated, he can see problems in your eyes before it becomes a problem with your vision. And what I mean by that is he can detect glaucoma. He can detect macular degeneration and things like that very often, even before it becomes a problem for your eyes. So it's very important that you have a dilated eye exam after the age of 50. If you wear glasses, the most important thing you can do for your glasses is clean them. Otherwise, it's going to look, the smudges are going to impair your vision, and you're going to have vision as if you had a cataract. So clean your glasses several times a day. If you wear multifocal glasses like I do, I wear bifocals. If you wear multifocal glasses, if you're going up and down stairs, make sure to take your glasses off. And the reason for that is when you go up and down the stairs and you're looking at the steps, you have a tendency to look at the bottom, which is the reading part. And because it's the reading part, the faraway step will look distorted to you. So take your glasses off. You may not see great, but you won't see distorted. And there are now doctors who will not prescribe multifocal lenses for their people over the age of 65. So take them off when you go up and down the stairs. Be aware of reduced contrast sensitivity. As I said, in low lit rooms, that's when two things that are a similar color might look the same, and especially at dusk. Especially at dusk when the light is fading very slowly, be aware that you're not seeing as well when the sun is going down. When you go from a light room to a dark room or a dark room to a light room, don't just walk into a movie theater and keep walking. Step to the side and count to 3 and give your eyes a chance to send that signal to your brain that the light changed drastically. So give it time. So when you walk into a movie theater, step to the side and count to 3. When you walk out of that theater into the brightly lit lobby, step to the side, count to 3, and then keep walking. Otherwise, you might find yourself dizzy 5 or 10 steps into your walking. Wear sunglasses during the day, even in the winter. As we get older, our eyes were more sensitive to glare, even if we're driving, especially if we're driving at night, or even if there's snow on the ground or we're near water. The sun reflection can cause glare, and that can hurt our eyes and cause us not be able to see. If you drive at night, wear glasses with anti-reflective coatings that can help with that halo and that glare of the oncoming traffic. And vision safety with a mask. This is something new that we've had to address during the pandemic, that when we wear a mask and we wear glasses, be aware that if you wear your mask high, which we often do, that it can impair your vision. It can impair, especially if you're looking down, it can impair your vision. So all the more reason that you must scan ahead. If you come to a step or a curb, stop and look down. Don't just keep walking. Stop and make sure you see where you're walking very, very carefully with that mask on. Hold on to railings. After you hold on to the railing, make sure you wash your hands or use hand sanitizer. And if your glasses fog up frequently, there are 2 things that you can do for that. If you have your mask on, you can move your glasses forward a little, and then your breath will go up and not onto your glasses, and you'll have less fogging. The other thing that you can do is you can use a glass defogger, which you can get in any hardware store or on Amazon. And what does our hearing and our going to the dentist have to do with falling? Well, it really does. So if you have a hearing loss, especially in imbalanced hearing loss. What happens is you have difficulty detecting spatial relationships. So what do I mean by that? I mean that if you're standing on a street corner and you hear a siren and you think you hear, like a fire truck, and you think the truck is coming from behind you, but because your hearing is not good, that truck is coming from the side, and you step out into the street because you think it's going straight. You step out into the street, it's really coming in from the side, that truck can hit you. So make sure that you get hearing aids. They have now ones that are less expensive. You can get in Costco, like readers. They have ones for hearing. And the other thing is, when your brain is trying so hard to figure out where a sound is coming from, it has less time to devote to keeping you balanced. It has less resources to devote to keeping you balanced. So it's much better to be able to hear well so your brain can concentrate on keeping you balanced. And what about the dentist? So as I said with your vision, early detection is the best protection. And very often, your dentist can see things in your mouth before they start becoming a problem in your body. So you might have some cardiac issue, and it can show up first in your gums. So that's a bonus by going to the dentist. But if you don't go to the dentist and you have poor oral health, you have gum disease, you have tooth decay, you have missing teeth, things like that, those things can make you more susceptible to infection and can make you more frail. Frailty can put you at greater risk of falling. So remember to visit your dentist. And what about medications? We talked about other things, so now let's talk about medications. So when I'm talking about medications, I'm not only talking about your prescription medications, I'm talking about over-the-counter medications and herbs and supplements. Any supplements that you take, vitamins, supplements, herbal medications, all of these count. So the more medications that you're on, the greater your risk of falling. And some of these medications can make you dizzy and can make your blood pressure go down and can cause confusion. So you need to be aware that these things, and you need to bring a list to your doctor or your pharmacist and have them look over every single medication you take and see how they work together. So the more medications that you take, the greater your risk of falling. The highest risk is when the medication is stopped, started, or the dose is changed, because you don't know how your body's going to react. So if your medication dose is changed, or you stop or start a new medication, don't go too far from home, because you don't know exactly how you're going to react to it. Alcohol use and medications, of course, is a no-no, because one makes the other worse. In terms of confusion and dizziness. Alcohol, I need to caution you, as we get older, gets detoxified in our bodies much more slowly than when we were younger. So if you remember when you were 35 or 40, that we could have a drink, a glass of wine, a whiskey sour, whatever it was, and then an hour and a half later we could drive. Now it takes that same drink 4 hours to be detoxified in our body. 4 hours. So be careful when you drink, and be careful how much you drink, and be careful not to take it with any medications. Make your pharmacist your friend. Very often they know more than the doctor about which medications work best together and what time of day to take the medications. So go to your pharmacist, bring a brown bag or bring a list of medications and talk it over with them. And talk to your healthcare professional, your doctor, your nurse practitioner, your pharmacist, about whether any of these medications can make you dizzy and whether they all work together. Keep an updated list of your medications with you always. Keep it with you, and this is just a safety thing, nothing to do with falls. Keep it in your wallet by your identification, so that if, God forbid, you're in an accident or you fall and they find your ID and they find your list of medications, they can treat you much more effectively faster if they know what medications you're on. So what about our bone health? What about the state of our bones? So as we get older, both men and women can have osteoporosis. Women have a higher percentage, but men can totally get it as well. And what is osteoporosis? So I want you to think of a tree, a 100-year-old oak tree. And that tree, we cut it down and you see that the inside is very, very solid. That's what your bones are supposed to look like. Now I want you to think of that same tree trunk, and I want you to think of what it looks like after being eaten by termites. So you see it's holey, it's not stable. You have holes and it looks spongy because the bone is not solid. That's what osteoporosis is. Your bones are not dense, they're not solid. And what happens is they are much more likely to break if we hit them or break from weight. So how do we avoid osteoporosis? We need three things. You need calcium because that's what your bones are made of. You need vitamin D because vitamin D is the key that unlocks the process that lets you make the bone from the calcium. And then the other thing that you need is exercise. And I'm not talking about just light exercise, I'm talking about weight-bearing exercise. The reason that you need weight-bearing exercise is because the more the strain or the drag, they call it drag, that you put on the bone, the more your body lets you lay down the bone. So the calcium is what your bones are made of. The vitamin D is what unlocks the process. And the drag on the bone is what allows you to actually lay down the bone. Okay? So we can only measure, you can't figure out your bone density by an X-ray. You need a bone density test that tells you the thickness of your bones. It doesn't hurt, takes about 20 minutes, it's no big deal. So it used to be that they recommended all the time for everybody over the age of 65 to take a calcium and vitamin D supplement. And in 2013, they changed the recommendation and they prefer that you use a calcium and vitamin D supplement only by direction of your healthcare professional. And the reason for that is because they were finding that there were people who were getting calcifications, some in their blood vessels, and some people were getting kidney stones. If you don't need the calcium, it can cause problems in your body. So it's best to get it from your diet. If you think you're not getting enough, then talk to your healthcare professional about supplementing you. So where do we get calcium in our diet? Everybody knows dairy products, dark leafy green vegetables like broccoli and collard greens, bony fish like salmon, sardines, anchovies, soybeans, tofu, and also nuts like walnuts also have high levels of calcium. It's also more physiologic when you get it from your diet because you get it over the course of the day as opposed to in one lump sum that your body finds hard to handle. Vitamin D is best from the sun. That's where we get most of our vitamin D. But now we don't go out without sunglasses and sunscreen and hats and long sleeves to protect ourselves because we're so afraid of getting skin cancer, which is right. But now we don't absorb as much sun as we used to. So we need to get some vitamin D. Your doctor can draw a vitamin D level and let you know if you need a supplement. And so you can also get it from your diet. So what are some good sources? Herring, again, fatty fish like anchovies or salmon or tuna in oil. Also eggs, but only the yolk of the egg has vitamin D in it, not the white part. So eggs are fine, they're filled with vitamin D. Liver is a good source of vitamin D. If you remember your parents or your grandparents eating or even giving you cod liver oil, great source of vitamin D. Tastes disgusting, but it's a great source of vitamin D. And today, foods are very fortified. Now, when you think about exercising, to build bone, you need to have weight-bearing exercise, like walking, lifting weights, Tai Chi, even yoga are weight-bearing exercises because you're bearing your body weight. But also resistance bands are also very good for that kind of a thing. But as a general rule for your overall muscle strength and endurance, you should combine balance exercises with weight-bearing, posture training, and strength exercises. So you really need a mix to keep yourself strong. If anybody has ever seen the documentary about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, how when she was 85, 86 years old, she worked out 3 times a week in the Supreme Court Justice gym. She worked out with a trainer, and that lady at 86 years old was doing push-ups. And she kept herself very, very, very strong. So some of the things you can do is you can take strength and balance classes, you can take yoga. Tai Chi is wonderful for balance. It's also wonderful for weight bearing. Work out with a trainer and do lifting. But of course, my favorite exercise is always, always walking. Because walking is weight bearing, it's free. You can do it with a friend, you can do it indoor, you can do it outdoor. It's just an all-around great exercise. So it's weight bearing, so it helps you to build lower body strength, and lower body strength is what's going to help you catch yourself if you do start to fall. It's aerobic, so it strengthens your heart muscles, and it helps arthritis and it reduces pain. So I know that this can be counterintuitive, that if you have arthritis or you have chronic pain, you say, oh my God, how can I walk? But the truth of the matter is that all the studies are now showing that people who have arthritis and pain and chronic pain have less disability and less pain over the long term if they walked and they moved regularly. So very important that you need to move. If you have trouble walking, if you find yourself a little bit off balance, or you find yourself having a little pain, use a walking stick. And you see in this picture that these people are using walking sticks. You can get very, very light ones that fold down. You walk with them, not like a cane. A cane is for an injury. It's specifically for an injury. You use your cane on the opposite side of your injury. A walking stick is just for balance. It's just something that takes the edge off. And you see that they're holding it not to lean on, but like Moses, like a staff, okay? And you just walk and it takes the edge off. And if you're walking up and down steps or curbs, it can help you with that. And it also, if you're standing in line, it can help you, give you something to lean on. Okay, and if you come onto a bus or a subway with a walking stick, very often another advantage is somebody will give you their seat, which is very nice. So what about community safety? So as I said, when you're walking outside, just like in your house, scan. I can't say it enough. Scan before you walk. Scan for hazards in the roads, scan for potholes, scan for uneven sidewalks. Scan for things that can trip you up. When there's no sidewalk, walk facing traffic so the driver can see you and you can see the driver. When you cross, please don't cross in the middle of the street. Drivers are not expecting you in the middle of the street. Always cross at the corner. If there's a crosswalk, you can use the crosswalk because there will be signs and drivers are expecting you. So use the crosswalks, and if there's a button for the light, always press the button. Always press the button. And if anybody thinks they know what the button is for, most people think that the button is to change the light in your favor, that it will turn to your favor sooner. And they stand there and they press the button and they say, oh my God, this thing is broken. but that's not what it does. The button at the crosswalk does not change the light to your favor faster. What it does is when the light does change in normal time, it gives you more walking time. So if you're walking across Sunrise Highway and you press the button, or Merrick Road and you have 20 seconds to get across, if you press the button, it might give you 30 seconds to cross. So always press the button. That's just a fun fact, nothing to do with falling. If you're standing on a corner, make eye contact with drivers. Don't trust the system. And what I mean by that is don't trust that just because the light is red or there's a stop sign, that the drivers are going to stop. You stop and make sure you make eye contact with that driver about who's going first so that you don't get into trouble. If you find yourself in the middle of the street, when you're crossing, put your hands up and walk towards the other side. Stop, look, and wave so that all the drivers can see you, not just the one that you're standing in front of. Look for hidden dangers like people backing up in parking lots or hidden driveways. Don't walk close to the cars if you can help it in a parking lot. Give yourself a little space because very often people don't look when they back up. Wear white or bright colors when walking at night or reflectors. Choose well-lit paths in the evening and at night, and avoid distracted walking. Don't walk looking at your cell phone. Don't text and don't FaceTime and don't read your emails while you're walking, because you could walk into something, you could walk into traffic and not be aware of it. I saw a guy walking down before the pandemic. I saw him walking in Manhattan, walking down the street, looking at his cell phone, and he walked right into a pole, right into a pole. It was just ridiculous. Okay, so also when you're out in the community, avoid wet floors. And what I mean by that is if you're in Costco or ShopRite, don't go near the flower display unless you absolutely have to. People pick up the flowers and it drips and they don't clean it up fast enough. So walk not near the flower display. If you see a wet floor sign, walk in another aisle. Beware of highly polished floors, like I said, in your house, squeaky clean without the sheen. But if you go into a restaurant or a museum, or you go to an affair like a wedding or something, beware of highly polished floors. Not enough sleep can also increase your risk of falls. If you are drowsy or you don't get enough sleep, you can become confused, you can become tired. The people who get less than 5 hours of sleep a night were 10 times more likely to fall the next day. So if anybody is, can you mute yourselves? Can you mute yourself so that we don't hear the dishes? Thank you, thank you. So if you're sleep deprived, it can make you less steady on your feet and more prone to tripping, and you don't see things as clearly. So try to make sure that you do get enough rest at night. Managing bad weather. Everybody talks about snow and ice. Make sure that your walkways and steps are clear. Use a spike-tipped cane. If you look in the picture, you can get a cane where the spike folds down and it digs into the ice and you have more traction. You can also use something called Yak Trax and Grip-X, which you affix to the bottom of your feet, like in the top right corner picture, and they give you more traction in the ice and snow. Wear sunglasses for glare, dress in layers, and the best thing to do in bad weather is stay home. But this is the only time that I don't want you to walk heel toe. When you have bad weather like ice and snow, and also going up and down hills like a grassy hill, I want you to do something called the penguin walk. So the penguin walk is a waddle, just like a penguin. Think of a baby who's learning to walk. They spread their feet, so you widen your stance. You spread your feet a little wider and take small and flat-footed steps in the snow and ice. Small flat-footed steps so that you get more traction. Excuse me. And make sure that you go slow. So that's the only time I want you to not walk heel toe. When we're talking about weather, don't forget about the wind. If you hear that the wind gusts are going, a gust of wind can knock you right over. So it's safer to not go out when it's really windy outside. And also don't forget when you're walking about wet leaves. Wet leaves can be just as slippery as walking on ice, and also walking on gravel can also be very slippery. So pay attention where you're walking. Try to avoid those things. Everybody talks about bad weather. What about hot weather? So hot weather can cause you to become dehydrated, and that can cause dizziness and confusion and cause you to fall and faint. So how do you know if you're becoming dehydrated? Well, there's one very easy way to know, and that's you look at your urine. Your urine is supposed to be essentially colorless, maybe very light yellow, very, very pale yellow. If you see it becoming darker, that means it's becoming more concentrated, and that means you could be dehydrated. So how do you prevent it? You drink throughout the day, even if you're not thirsty. Don't rely on thirst as a signal to drink. And the reason that I say that is because as we get older, our thirst signal is not as strong as it was when we were younger. So we don't always know when we're thirsty. So make sure you drink. Take sips throughout the day and adequately hydrate. Keep your urine in that very, very pale yellow range. And what should you drink to stay hydrated? Of course, water is the best thing. We all know that. But if you're sweating a lot, if you've been outside or inside and you happen to be sweating a lot, you can use like an electrolyte sports drink like Gatorade is a good thing to replace what you've lost. We don't recommend sugary drinks and soda or juice. And the reason for that is when you are dehydrated, they can really upset your stomach and cause you to vomit. And beverages with caffeine, like coffee and tea, have caffeine in them, and the caffeine is dehydrating. So don't think that coffee and tea are the things that are going to hydrate you back up. Even though they have small amounts of caffeine, it can really cause mild dehydration, which is no good. And what about infections? We always have to be on the lookout for infections as we get older, because sometimes we can have infections and not really know that we have them. So you can get blood infections, bloodstream infections that you don't know you have until they cause a fever. So they can come on slowly and it can cause you to fall. Respiratory infections like bronchitis and even pneumonia can cause you to become lightheaded. And especially the most common one is really urinary tract infections. And as we get older, both men and women can be very prone to urinary tract infections. And we don't get the same symptoms that we might get when we were younger, like that sense of urgency or frequency or burning. We can just have an infection and it can cause us to become lightheaded. It can lower our blood pressure. It can cause us to become dizzy. And sometimes if you see a person stumbling out on the street and you think, oh my God, that person's drunk, that person could be just have a urinary tract infection, or that person could be dehydrated and very simply remedied with drinking, with hydration, and with antibiotics. But a woman told me that she spoke to her mother the day before and her mother was totally fine. And then she spoke to her that day and she said that her mother was very confused about what day it was. And I said, you better go get your mother because I think she's got a urinary tract infection. And indeed she did. So we talked about how to keep yourself from falling. Now I just want to go over briefly how to get up from a fall safely. So the first thing to do, if you do, God forbid, fall, is don't panic. It shakes you up very badly. Even if it's not a bad fall, it can shake you up very badly. So instead of panicking, lay there and just take slow, deep breaths until you calm down. And you take like relaxation breaths, like in through your nose and out through your mouth. So you breathe in like this and out like this. And you breathe out twice as long as you breathed in. And you do that a few times and your body will relax. And once you relax a little bit, then you can do a body assessment and see, did I hit my head? Can I move my arms and my legs? And if you can't, or if something causes tremendous pain, don't try to get up. If the room is spinning or if the sky is spinning, don't even try to get up, just call for help, okay? But if you feel okay, you can move your arms and your legs and you didn't hit your head and you're feeling like, okay, I'm calm, now I can get up. What you do is you move to a sitting position and stay there for a few minutes and do some deep breaths and just sit there until you calm down, okay? Then find the nearest sturdy piece of chair or furniture or a step or a curb, and then you roll onto your hands and knees and crawl to the piece of furniture or to the step. Crawl. If you have bad knees and you can't crawl, you can scooch on your rear end. You can just slide on your rear end till you get to it. Okay, you're gonna have to go on your knees for a minute, for less than a minute, but you need to get over to it so you can either crawl or you can scoot on your rear end. Put your strongest leg under you so you have one knee bent, you have your knee bent as it is in the picture here. Hold onto the chair, push yourself up and around and sit on the chair and then call for help. Or sit in the chair until you feel well enough to walk. Okay, now I have provided Janine with some tips, and the tips for fall prevention also include how to get up from a fall safely, so you can have this on a tip sheet. Other tips and tricks really quickly: getting in and out of a car. Don't put one leg in. Put your feet together, turn around and sit your whole rear end down on the car seat and swing your legs around together. Get out the same way. Get out the same way. And this way you're using your lower body muscles and not your back. There's a car cane. If you see in the picture, this lady is holding onto a car cane that you insert in this little space in the side of the car door, or the car where the car door closes. You can put that in and hold it, and that can help you get out. Use walking sticks, use a reacher only for low items, nothing above your head, because that item could fall on you, and even if it's light, you just instinctively move out of the way quickly to get out of the way of something falling on your head. Eat frequent small meals to keep your blood sugar even, so that you don't get hypoglycemic. So you should really be eating something every 2 hours. And if you're afraid you're gonna eat too much, have your half a sandwich at 12 o'clock and another half, the other half at 2 o'clock. But every 2 hours. Find a balance and strength program, and don't be afraid to talk to your doctor about falling and risks and prevention. So in summary, most important thing, be aware, walk like you drive. Look at the big picture. Look at the big picture. Slow down. Don't rush to get the phone or rush to get across the street. And remember your new mantra: walk, heel, toe. Heel, toe walking. Scan and walk, scan and talk, and walk. Awareness allows us to make better choices, so be aware of your surroundings. So the title of my talk is Leaves Are Supposed to Fall, People Aren't, but there is one time when we want you to fall, and we want you to fall very, very hard. Anybody guess? When you're falling in love. So thank you so much. You're a great audience, and you can all unmute, and I'll take any questions if anybody has any questions.